that while I would be home with my family using, and these wavelengths would start to communicate, I would be hearing impending disasters. You know, there's this almost reality like foreboding that something is about to happen, something bad will happen. And I was saying to myself, well, I don't want no bad thing to come near my family and near my dwelling, my brothers, sisters, wife, children. And I would go out in the streets and smoke out there and let all the threats in my mind be where I am and not home. So that is part of the insanity, you know?
No, you normally would say frequency, and from time to time, as some people would observe, and for those of you who send sketches of what Sketch did for you, thank you very much. We posted it on our Facebook page, and we're going to show some of them this morning. Sometimes we would pass you on Mokrapa Road by that traffic light and see you having a conversation, sometimes quarreling with someone. That's what you're talking about?
Yes, someone will be talking directly in your ear, and telling you what to do, telling you, well, look, that could commit suicide, look, that vehicle coming, they throw yourself now, don't hesitate. If you hesitate, you will get damaged bad. If you don't hesitate, you would succeed in instant death. And things like that. So I would be crawling with his voice, you know, and arguing and cussing and telling anything leave me. And sometimes I would resort to hitting myself. I would fold my face like this and actually give myself a jab, trying to get the voice to come out. Because it wasn't me alone occupying the shell that I live in. My body was a free for all.
Now, for the people who are listening to us, living in the home, what would it be like? You at home with your family, and what would the experience would be like?
Well, it would be like I would go and get it, and I would go in the toilet with it. And when I put up the shot and I exhale, I would be hearing like my brother saying, "Officer, look inside, look inside, they're smoking. Look inside it. Kick down the door, kick in the door," you know? Things like that. So what I would do, I would open the door and peep outside and start, there's where the peeping symptoms start now. And so before I put on the shot, sometimes I would make a patrol, a recce patrol along the house and make sure, who busy doing what, and right, nobody had time with me, right. See if I could go and bust a shot. You know, and as I put it on, you would hear like, "Doctor, you're flying here, you know, you'll be hearing the voice right in here, in your head."
Now, what about living with them? You know, there are some things family experience like stealing stuff from home, and did you go through that phase with them too as well?
I will be honest, there was only 2 occasions that I took something from home that I could remember. There was a night my father was asleep and he had a shirt hung up, and the shirt was hung up right next to his bed head on a chair or something. I don't know what it was hung up. I think it was the cupboard door, because the cupboard's right there. And the cupboard door was open and the handle, he had the shirt hung up there. And in the pocket was this coil. If you see this coil, this fat coil, only blue notes. And I get down on my all fours and hearing him snoring. I said, "Well, right, he's sleeping. He's a snore." So I just skirmish inside the place on my all fours, ease out the coil. It was in a rubber band, and take out, I think it was three bills, $300 from that coil, and put back the rest of the money, and went back out in the reverse gear, watching him all the time, making sure he ain't get up. Remember that. And I went my way. I went down in St. James, I went all over the place, and the next day, about 2 o'clock in the evening, he bunks me up. You see him, I comb in the whole of this place looking for you, whole come. Pull up with the car. And I on that side of the road. And he said, come, Sheldon. I said, no, Daddy, I ain't coming. He said, ain't coming. I said, no, I'm not coming. Why if I go near that man there, right? What is going to happen? The man strapped dead, you know?
And he was still in the army at the time?
No, that's years after he left the army.
Right.
You know? That is just not too long, say about 10 years before his death, before he died. That happened, and my father was a muscular man. He had broad shoulders, and he had one of his fingers is 2 of my fingers. I wouldn't like a man like that to lash me, you know something? So, I don't know, he vexed, I take his money. He said, take my money, I say, yes, Daddy, I take your money. Yeah. We go fix that. And he just drive off, you know. And that was that, you know. I know me ain't going back home in a hurry because that had to die down first. He had to calm down himself. I wouldn't go back tomorrow or the next day. I took a couple of weeks before I went back home. But when I went back home, they took me to St. Anne's. And I spent a while in St. Anne's. And then I was to come out for this weekend. And the weekend I came out, he came for me. He used to drive a DeVille, a big car. And Daddy put me in he came up St. Anne's and took me to spend a weekend home. I remember sitting in the car and everything. When we got home, we was lying in the bedroom. Myself, Daddy, Mommy, and a couple other. I can't remember who else was there, but my parents was there. And I was going through the encyclopedias. They had the Britannica encyclopedias from A to Z volumes. And I was just going through it, shuffling the pages. And while shuffling the pages, I see a blue note sticky inside the thing there. A blue note out of everything stick inside the encyclopedias. Well, I do like if me see nothing, you know, I keep shuffling. But boy, from that time, I started to get belly pain, belly gripe, because me and smoke on how long? Because I was in St. Anne's, you know, I don't start a detox now. But as I see the money, you know, one time you get belly cramp.
It was a trigger.
You want to go in the toilet, you understand? So when he wasn't looking, I just do some shuffle back to that page and just slip it out and just chuck it in my drawers. You know, and kind of slid my way out from in there. And that was it. I disappeared. You know, went on the road again. So a few days after that.
And not take up, and that's a good point Relapse is going to deal with about triggers.
Yeah.
And because some people tend to think, and although they give families instructions, they will still have have access to money.
Correct.
And I'm not understanding that it is a trigger.
It's a trigger.
Go ahead.
Money is a trigger. A few days following that runaway, I went back home. And I thought I could have just relaxed myself home. And Daddy said, if you can relax, this man get some electric wire, brother. Electric cord. Them hard stiff wire and wrap me up like a mummy. Hold me down on his knee and tie me up, you know. Tie me up. Right? And toss me in the back of the DeVille. So you're going back in St. Anne's and carry me up St. Anne's, back inside the place. But he was never violent to me during that time. The man that took his money and things like that, my father never lashed me for that. But as a child growing up, I was scolded by him badly whenever my mother would say I deserve a cocktail. He would send me up the guava tree and have me pick the best guava whips I could pick. Right? But as an adult, he never put his hand on me. Right? So I was lucky that he was that kind of father. You know,
Was he the kind of father who would sit you down and try to reason with you or talk to you?
He and I, we had a good understanding. Even before I ended up on drugs, my father and I was like that. You know, he and I used to go out together, you know. We were dressed the same. I go have on a white t-shirt and a jeans. He go have on a white t-shirt and a jeans, and we would go all about knocking about. But the thing about that is, in those days, he and I used to smoke together. We used to smoke weed. And when we go in Lyman, we used to smoke weed and drink beers. We go make a stout run, we go Maracas, you know. But
So you suspect, in terms of his reaction to your drug abuse,
Yeah.
he was disappointed, hurt.
Yeah, well, when I was kicked out of the army, he tell me, see, same thing I tell you. I tell you not to go there.
Hmm.
You see, but you're hardened. You're hardened. Since you're small, you're hardened. You see, I told you not to go there. You know? You see, which what he was in the Express, I tell you, there's a place, you have people who looking out for you, you know? Because I used to come and talk to him about my experience in Express. And it had the supervisor I didn't used to get along with. Because the supervisor used to come and say, build that page. And as I done build the page, you will rush quicker than the next page as I finish it and chuck it in from my face. I said, Daddy, the man actually victimizing me, you know? Like, I think they say I'm lazy or I want to do the work, but the way the man is to be moving, thirsty to have me, I used to tell Daddy, and he used to say, well, if you are one supervisor in the army, I mean in Express, giving you that stress, when you join the army, everybody is a supervisor. And you have to take orders from everybody. And they don't talk to you nice. They don't put it across. When they direct and get an order, it's anyhow you have to take it. Yeah, man, you come in and complain to me about the supervisor. Okay, I'm going to join the army. I'm telling her to go there. And I still went, regardless, you know.
If you're just joining us, ladies and gentlemen, you're listening to Dependency, and we are speaking with Sheldon Aberdeen. You know him as Sketch. And for those of you who happen to, would have found a sketch that he did for you, then feel free to post it on our Facebook page as well, as we have a conversation with him here this morning. And so Sheldon, eventually you ended up on the streets. Where did you sleep? How we let's give a parent an idea of when they're at home, they don't know where their child is. They're somewhere on the streets. How was your day like? How did you sleep? How did you eat? What was the day like?
Okay, well, I remember the first time I slept on the street was following my discharge, right, from TTR. And I used to sleep on Frederick Street, below Salvatore Building, where everybody could see me. Because I feel like it's the safest place to sleep. If I go Lansing Street, or if I go George Street, or I go any one of them up street, I could get myself anything could happen to me. But if I sleep in front where everybody could see me, I don't want anybody got advantage me there. So I used to sleep right under Salvatore Building, right there. And people would go and tell my mother, I see your son lying down so place. And when I come, they'll say, Sheldon, you living here, in a nice bed, and going on, you understand? And they're making the family shame. When you mentioned that word about that shame, that was so true. That shame I bring on my family. Because the upbringing we got as children, I ain't have to tell you. If your father is a soul, you again, good upbringing, right? It's common sense.
Sure, yes.
Well, we did. Myself and my 5 brothers and sisters, we all had a very good upbringing. We came from a nice, disciplined, well closely knitted spiritual family. We used to go to church regular. We used to go Sunday school. We used to go vacation Bible school. You know, and we had a clean upbringing. And the only thing I would say was my problem coming up, where I used to get plenty licks for, no matter how much I get licks for, I couldn't stop it, is I would say this to the nation, Sketch used to wet bed. I used to wet bed at a teenager, I was still wet in bed. And for wet in bed, I would get scolded for that. Even when I was working. Because I started to work at the Express. And my mother and them thought it's just worthlessness. It's just worthlessness I was. But they didn't realize I was actually had a weak bladder. I used to pee bed, right? And what it took for me to stop wet in bed was when I left the Express and joined the regiment. My first night in the regiment, I will tell you, they gave me a double-decker, and I had to share the double-decker with another guy. And we was in 2nd platoon, and I can't remember, I think it was number 2 section, right? Number 2 section, 2nd platoon, yeah. And the guy who I had was to share the double-decker with was a big, dark, broad, when I tell you, big fella. And he say, Abbas, I take in that bottom there, bunker, I bet I take it, you know. But he ain't know the reason I want to take that because I don't know I go wet him.
Oh, God.
Right? Because the night in question, I sleep on that top bunk. I wet the bed, and the pee wet he. And he get pee down. And
Wait.
when he get pee down, the next day,
That was real water, boy?
yeah, he get pee down, and when he get pee down, he say, about the next time you pee me, pee that bed up, that beat you bad. And that's how I stop peeing bed.
Wait,
And he stopped me from peeing bed.
I want to bring in Maureen here for a second. The bed wetting, is that a psychological response to some kind of
Good
trauma?
morning. Yes, it is. Yes, yeah, psychological. And it is a way of decompressing and also exhaling when the body gets into distress. And so, you use what's available to you. And that's what happens. Yeah.
Would that have been a red flag, you think?
It
for
would have been.
his-
It would have been. Yeah. Because, and again, it's about socialization and stuff. So if it is like he said in his childhood, and all of us had that experience as well, that amount of, well, they call it discipline.
Yes.
But that's psychological abuse.
Of course.
That is by no means discipline.
Correct.
Right? So a lot of us had to develop different coping mechanisms to help us survive. And because, I mean, if you were raised in those kinds of environments where you didn't have a voice, remember, it's only today now children actually have a voice.
Yes,
But
some
in our
agency.
time, and for us, it was even, us who are older, it was even worse. It means that we had a number of things that we had to be accountable for.
Yeah.
And obviously, if you're not meeting your accountability standards, and then you are being assessed, and parents still do that today. A lot of parenting is designed around how it will look and what other people will see.
Yes.
Right? And I keep reminding parents that there's no manual, and that all drugs are not equal, and that each of us, because of the nature of our brain and the way in which we are wired, we certainly will respond and react differently. So that you can't, and the comparisons as well create a lot of problems for us. So we don't know how to manage those things. So ultimately, we find a way to cope. Now, some people do it legally and legitimately, and others do it illegally and and use it by the use of illegal and illicit drugs. So, and I mean, parents might say, well, what do you mean legally? Okay, so they have children who have eating disorders, and more often than not, you never know until they get into puberty. You start to realize, and for a lot of parents too, you're in denial because you use the umbrella that you're doing the best that you can for your children, and I don't doubt that for a moment, right? But it takes a lot of communication and building trust and actually seeing each person on its own merit, and we didn't have that luxury. Most of us came out of families, like in my instance, for example, my mother had 6 of us 11 months apart. Where was that going to be with respect to any individuality? We all had different roles and functions and that kind of thing. So some of them, again, and Sheldon mentioned that as well, and it's really relevant too, because there are certain traits and behaviors that we inherit from our parents. It's just that the drug of choice is different. A father smoking marijuana, drinking alcohol, smoking cigarettes. I hear a lot of parents who say that, listen, better to do it with me first, but why do it at all?
No, Ms. Bowen, thank you very much. I wanted to, before we come back to sketch, I wanted to touch on that too, for parents, especially fathers, who think it's cool to, or even mothers, who think it's
To
cool
smoke and or
to
drink.
smoke and drink with their child.
Their children.
And, there's, and especially not understanding that your brain develops at the age of 25. And we always heard about the talk about giving them alcohol for the worms and all of these things. Could you explain to parents the danger of that for me,
Right.
please?
So again, I have to say that all drugs are not created equal. What do I mean by that? I mean that some of us could tolerate and others cannot. So and you hear parents say things like that but I used to smoke weed and I stopped. Well, good luck to you, and very good for that. But exposing your children, you have to look at the genetic predispositions, and if you're already wired in that way, and then you open that pleasure center, because remember we spoke about that, and a person then gets a sense of wanting, needing, must have. You can't use the same kind of formula that worked for you, with respect to them. So why start? Why even start? Now, there are certain things in this life that you are not going to be able to control. But you must teach accountability, and you must teach taking responsibility for your actions. And one of the I don't know, I like to call it one of the deficiencies of families when it comes to substance abuse is that they hide under the umbrella of guilt and shame. Rather than, look, we have to take accountability for what's happening here, because I think we have to recognize, and today I want people to understand this is a family disease. Everybody is adversely affected by the choices and decisions of one. And you could sit there and say, well, that person's selfish, and that person just don't care about his family, and that person, we did our best, and I mean, no judgment, and absolutely no judgment, because I've lived this. There's nobody could tell me about this better than anybody else. I do not speak on this subject from the point of view of only my academic training. This is a lifelong process that I experienced, up to and inclusive of death. So I understand how this works. But I'm saying to you that once you break the cycle of denial and start recognizing that it's a family effort that is required, then all of us hold ourselves accountable for what's happening, but we are not responsible for the choices and decisions that the individual makes.
So one more quick question.
Yep.
For parents who experiencing their child wetting bed still, what would you say to them? Because beating them is not the answer.
Right. So I say to them that you must first do a medical assessment. Yes? Because there may be some genetic issues, there may be some medical issues, there may be some psychological and sociological triggers, but you can't just label it under lazy and not wanting to get up, or, you could do better than that. Yeah? What is better than? Because when you look at the way people, each of us are structured, there are different periods in our lives. Like the other day I was saying to a client, she said, I just don't understand the behavior of my child. And I say, listen to me. Because you grow older biologically doesn't mean that psychologically you're in that space, right? Some people are stuck in certain age groups in their life because there are certain traumas and certain things that would have happened there that went unresolved. So we grow old because the genetics say that we grow old. We have no control over that. But growing up is another thing. A lot of us are not mature individuals. And you could see it from our behaviors. So like road rage is a good example of you're not a mature individual. You're stuck in a particular cycle of your life where you didn't know how to reason, you didn't understand that you could step back, walk away, count to 10. But this trigger just brings you to a place where you have to have a response. But not everything requires a response.
If you're just joining us, you're listening to Dependency, and we are doing part 2 of Sheldon Sketch Aberdeen here this morning. And I want to come back to Sketch now. Sketch, for the parent who listening, they haven't seen their child in 2 days, 3 days. What was the experience like living on the street? Because you have to sleep. You have to find a place. If you sleep at all, you have to find a place to sleep. But you have most of your days spent looking for this hit. What tell us about that? The experience on the street.
You're always hungry. You know you're in for some form of discipline when you return to your address, right? But you're telling yourself, for me, it used to be one more, just one more. After this one, I will go home. After this one, I'm going home. And when I take that one, I get more frightened to go home. Right? So, as I get more frightened, I'm going to take a next one. And another night come and catch me outside. And you know, I remember the days that followed on. You know, I mean, I get a reprieve from my parents. You know, due to death in the family, I got a reprieve from my mom. She called me back home because one of us didn't make it through a little altercation. He didn't make it out alive, and I was given a reprieve due to that. And I behaved myself really, really good. I really behaved myself, you know, for that year. That 12 months that I spent home, that 12 months I spent home before I was back in the working world and, you know, back in the swing of things, you know. At age 25, I had my first son. How old was I, boy? I think I was 19. That was in 1990. I was 25 in 1990. Yeah, I had my first son. And with that little boy, I got some stability. You know, the lady who mothered my son and gave me that security. She and I, you know, we went good for about 7 years or so. But you see, following that, I had another relapse and I never came back home. I spent the next 17 to 20 years on the streets. But the first few years that I spent on the streets, from after that boy was born, I think I left home when he was about 11 years old. How old he was, I can't remember. Could be 7, I can't remember. But he didn't get to see me as a teenager. I was on the streets when he became a teenager. And for those first few years while I was on the street, I used to cry a lot. I used to find myself, whenever I using this thing, I used to be always by myself. And the another thing with me, I used to hit and move. I never stay one place. I combed the whole of Trinidad on foot. I walk from St. James to Toko, right? From Toko to Manzilla Mayor or Cedros, come right back.
Walking.
And while I doing all this walking, I finding blocks, you know. I finding all which party push around is, you know. I just drawing people and smoking. And
So that's how you made your money. You sketched people for money.
Yeah, on the road, I would stop a car. The car would pull up. Sometimes if I pass by a beach, I see people, I would go to the people and introduce myself and ask them if they would like to have one. And my line is that if you don't like what you see, you don't have to pay for it. But once you like it, you could pay me $20.
Right.
And that is how I supported that. I used to make a lot of money because the first one, after if they were a group of people, then settling for that one, and next person will give me one too. So that's the next money again. And so when I leave a group of people, I leave in there nice.
Right.
And I know which part I head in. I ain't going by the pallet to buy a sweet drink or a kiss cake. I go in straight on the block. Anyhow, I used to cry. Cry. Feeling sorry for myself and pity party now. How I leave my wife and my children and I study on my sons how to cry for me when I was leaving. They used to cry for daddy boy. They used to cry when I leaving. Because before I finally left home permanently, I used to just walk out there so. I just used to go out and spend 2 weeks in the streets up and down the east-west corridor. 2 weeks I ain't come home. And when I reach home now, my wife home there, she waiting. She said, you finally come home, you know. You reach, you know. Make sure and bathe properly, you know. And Don't come on the bed and I sleep in the drawing room or something. Because me know which fight you was. You know? And things like that. But I finally get fed up of it crying by myself. I used to cry so much till my eyes used to get swelled. And I telling you, I reached a point where I asked God to take away tears from me. Stop me from crying. Yeah. I tell God, I said, God, you have to stop me from crying, boy. And I from that time when I stopped crying, I didn't cry for some years. All kind of people beat me on the street, you know. Things happened to me, and I wouldn't cry again.
What people used to beat you for?
I don't know. I used to get licks just so, you know. In St. James, there was an occasion I was sleeping by Smokey and Bunty's on the next side where they had the horse racing place used to be.
Mm-hmm.
But at that time, it had a horse racing thing. I used to sleep right in front there. And it had a Friday night, but I real people, but I out because I must have went for about 2 weeks with no sleep. Because that's how I used to binge. I used to binge 2 weeks straight. Breaking dawn, in dusk till dawn. And I lie down, then I sleep, and at night somebody wake me up and tell me, boy, come take a walk down the road with me now. And about 5 fellas walk me down the road, boy. That same street is Smoky's there. And when I reach down there, they reach in a wait about a junction, a crossroad like. Everybody just circle me and have me in the middle. I watch and I want to know what's going on. I kind of doubt that was going to happen to me there. When I tell Alex, blows. You know, and there's another time I was begging by a double stand. Right in front of the police station there. And this man, the man who selling double, said, boy, go for me nice and stink. I said, well, God, just give me one double seat. And as I say, give me one double, and man, just do something, pick up a piece of iron, a piece of iron right there, boy, and walk me with that piece of iron. Real walk me, I tell you, partner, I can't walk. When I done, I can't walk, I tell you. And things like that happened to me. But I wouldn't cry, you know. I stopped crying. Up to now, I don't think I cry since I stopped that crying. I still cry plenty. Because it hurt now. I used to study my children, boy. You know. I tell you, that used to really bother me. And suicide was something normal in my mind. I used to think about it every day. I used to say, boy, best thing to do is to jump off somewhere. Jump in front of that. Time I see a taxi truck, not a Shell, one of them big gas truck now coming up the road, the highway by the foreshore there. And I stand up with a brace now, you know, to just toss myself in front of that truck, you know. But then I said, boy, if you do that, that truck might crash and kill people, boy, Sheldon, boy. You alone mightn't dead. So I said, all right, I ain't do that again. You know, and that saved me, you know. I saved, that thought about other people being injured too is what stopped me from doing that. But
Well, Sheldon, do you think that it was your talent and your skill that kept you on the street for that length of time? Because if you didn't have that means of earning money, you may have.
This is why the
home.
people, I must commend all West End residents from St. James go right back. Everybody down in that West Zone down there, I have to real grateful to that these people, because they are the people who told me, we are going to get you off the street because you can't stay here with that talent, killing yourself with it. You're using that talent for the wrong purpose. That's what they tell me, you know. They say we have to give everybody, and I don't know how it happened to be like being homeless and could make me so well known now. It just happened that way, that a lot of people get to see me and get to know my talent and just decide to do something about it. And I remember a night something happened, and I say, oh, it was a carnival time, and I was Silver Star right here. I was sleeping on the other side of Silver Star, which part it have a little generator, and I went going in the little generator there, under the burglar-proof box. Right there, I sleeping on the pavement. And I just hear this noise. No, something tell me, Sheldon, get up and go and take a piss. So I just get up and I went to the urine. And while I leaned up on the wall there, a car lost control and run over the bed, the piece of cardboard where I had there. Run over and drag with the cardboard and everything, you know.
What?
The man front tire mash up, you know. The whole front of the car, because he jumped the pavement now, carry everything. And I over there on the next side, watching the scene, and like, if well, boy. So I say, Father God, here we going on. By Friday. Send somebody by Friday. Between now and Friday, send somebody to get me off of this road here, because that was the closest I come to that. I'm telling you. Not had many other occasions. There was a time I was sleeping underneath the bridge, under Bonds Road Bridge, and I lie down and I look up to the north and I see in the clouds and I see in the rain. But it didn't occur to me, well, the next thing coming is a river come down now.
Mm-hmm.
So I went back to sleep. Next thing I hear any rumbling coming down, the gushing coming down, all kind of big stone. You hearing the noise now. When I do something, look up, if you see water coming, I get up and start to run. While I run in, the water catch up with me. The water catch me and throw me, and I fall and hit the back of my head. But the water lift me off my foot. So,
Wow.
and I hit the ground, padap. And then while I going down the river now, I see like, you know, them little ladder thing on the left side there.
Mm-hmm.
I just gauge my way luckily and snatch onto that. And hold on with this one hand until I get that. And climb out from that. You know, all these things happen to me
So all the possessions you had was that washed away?
Yeah, my whole bag with all my drawings and thing. And all my little whatever accoutrements, you know. Everything going down the river. Right? And I said, I asked God, I said, get me off the streets. And this guy came from somewhere, boy. This white guy, I don't know. This filmmaker came and asked me. You see, some people send me to you, you know. That was about the Thursday. That happened somewhere about Monday, Tuesday. The incident with the car, when I run off the road.
Mm-hmm.
And this guy came about the Thursday or the Friday, and asked me if I want to come off the street just like that. I see the man walking towards me. I see when the man parked the car, because I was sitting down right there, smoking. And I see the man walking towards me, and I said, but where's this man? Anyhow, I didn't have, so me looking at the bag. You understand? I don't have my stuff. I ain't looking to beg nobody again. But the man reached to me and asked me, you the artist? I said, yeah, he's the artist. Yeah. Some people send me to, you know, they want to find out if you want to come off the street and thing. And I tell the fella, yes. And I went through this process with the fella, you know. It took me to health facilities to get all kind of tests. You know, they test me for everything. I was HIV negative, still HIV negative. I had the test me for tuberculosis. They had a little strain of that in my system. They gave me some treatment for that, and that was it. That was the only thing they discovered that I had a little bit of TB. And when all that when I passed all these things, eventually I had another test and it was negative. You know, I was cured from the TB. They sent me Peparo. You know, and Peparo was the first place I went. When I went Peparo, I got in a fight. I brawled with somebody and they put me out. The same fella came, he took me and he carried me to teen challenge. I got in a fight in teen challenge. The same fella come, he took me from teen challenge, he carried me by pastor.
That's it?
No, the guy in Tunapuna, with him, gosh boy, the pastor fella now.
Okay, but
Right,
yeah.
he, who had people in cages.
All right, yes.
Right. And Aruka, yeah. I can't remember the places, but somewhere up in it. I got in a fight with the man himself.
Mm.
Yeah, the man who owned the place, me and he got in a fight. So I get put out from there too.
And what was the sorry not to cut you, but what was the origin of these fights? What was the reason for the disagreement or misunderstanding?
I will be honest with you, I had a street like kind of way. You know, as they talk to me hard, I write to look it down, you know.
You didn't want to conform
can't
to the
talk to me,
rules
yeah,
of the...
Can't talk to me too hard. Or
Okay.
I always had this arrogant way about me, you know.
You don't think, Garth, this is one of the one of the points that we need to highlight is a person's readiness for treatment. Sending someone to rehab when they're not ready to accept the help can be an exercise in futility sometimes.
All the time. It's a personal choice. But when I listen to Sheldon and that anger as well, that anger too could be rooted in the fact that the pleasure centers are not being satisfied. So that you will find that, like, there are people who will tell you that they get hungry when they don't eat at a particular hour, because they have trained their bodies to eat at a particular hour. And if it is not satiated at that point, then have nothing to do with them. There are people who will tell you that on a morning when they get up, if they don't have their coffee and their first cigarette, don't speak to them. And we have that kind of colloquial kind of way where we say that he is not a morning person, but they're not taking into account that we all have something called a circadian rhythm. And that rhythm determines our ability to be awake and asleep, and also how we would function. So while he had a moment, a spiritual awakening, and the goodness of God did in fact, he spoke and he was heard. The fact is that with addiction, most times that's where we stop. That's where we stop. So that, I mean, and I could say I always liken it to like heart situations and diabetes and stuff like that, because you go to a doctor and the doctor says, listen to me, the sugar levels are at a certain level. It means that if you don't continue, I'm giving you a diet sheet, whatever. Most of us will do that for the first week. And after that, the rest is history.
Yeah.
We revert to normal behaviors.
Yeah.
But if it is that you within yourself say, look, I am going to exercise delayed gratification because I feel that this is something that I need to do for me. I saw my parents lose their legs, so I know the outcome. I know the flow of this, and this is not something that I want for myself, and therefore. But the thing about it is that, and I want people to recognize this as well. Because you get to that place of recognition where you would say, well, okay, I am going to make the necessary changes. It's not about really changes as it relates to extreme, because that's why we're not consistent, and that's why we fall through the cracks, and that's why we relapse. So, for example, and I could speak to diabetes because that's something that I'm experiencing. If you were to take away everything that I like to eat, there's no way that you could speak to me, and I am educated, and I understand, and I took care of my parents until they died, right? I know what the costs and consequences are. So what I had to learn to do, and something I said, okay, how are you managing this? And what I did was intermittent fasting, right? So, and even in my hours of eating, so I'll push back the breakfast, push back the lunch, give myself like an 8-hour window for eating. But in that time of eating, trust me, I would still eat a little piece of cake, I would still drink some soft drink, I would still, right? What would happen over time is that I would reduce the amount of it. So that I've gotten to a place now where and luckily for me, I work for Häagen-Dazs, so once I go inside a day and I have to work and stuff.
And that's temptation central.
And I mean, yes, and I would say to them, well, just give me a half a scoop. But you have to satisfy that sense. So it's the same thing with substance abuse. A lot of people get into harm reduction as opposed to moving away. And harm reduction speaks to you change the drug of choice, right? So that people always question the fact that you go to NA and AA meetings and there are people there smoking cigarette, drinking coffee. That's harm reduction, because the thing about it is now they are accountable and they have to do the management. Not everybody could go cold turkey and decide. That is a decision that you make with yourself and your body. But for some of us, we don't have the luxury of doing harm reduction. Harm reduction is only an incentive for us to eventually progress to where we were before and even worse.
If you're just joining us, you're listening to Dependency, and we are speaking with Ms. Maureen Bowen and Sheldon Sketch Aberdeen. And Sheldon is taking us through his life of this roller coaster. And what I just realized, and I've been thinking this for a while, but we cannot really guide you through this process with 2 programs. So, but over the time, over the period, for the rest of the year, we will try, and depends on the availability of these 2 folks here, we will because this is an ongoing thing. We really cannot get you to understand substance abuse in 2 programs. No matter, and we don't have the luxury of that time, unfortunately, because we're going to have the police in here for the next 2 Sundays to guide you through another process, which connects to this. But so Sheldon was just telling us about his journey on the streets and the relapse, getting kicked out of rehab. I know about that too. But Sheldon, I want people to understand. I'm going to say good morning to Central Region, those of you who just joined us. Thank you very much for joining us. Lovely to have young people listening to you here this morning.
From Civilian Conservation Corps.
Yes, listening to you. And you came close to death. Sheldon, God has you here for a reason, right? Without a doubt. Because surviving that avalanche from the river, surviving that car, something wake you up, you're a guardian angel with you. Because you relapsed many times.
Yeah.
The guy who took care of you, and at one point in time, he decided, well, look, leave you again.
Exactly.
Right. Then Mr. Haddad took you up.
Yeah.
And Mr. Haddad decided, I'm going to keep trying with you. But before we go to a break, they took you off the street, you got an apartment, furnished and all of that. You relapsed.
Yeah.
How many times?
4 times.
What would you do when that happens? No, before we go there, I want people to understand too that cocaine, crack cocaine especially, the one that your son using right now, ma'am, and I know you're listening, remember they are depressants and they are stimulants. Crack cocaine is a stimulant, but it's not a high, it's a feeling. Right?
Yeah.
That lasts like 10 to 15 seconds to 20 seconds.
Yeah.
Good.
And the after effects is a frightened paranoid feeling, like the after effects, as it were, you're scared, you're shunning people, you feel like if somebody watching you feel like everybody know, and like if you do something so wrong, your conscience be really playing, not tricks, it's just letting you know that you shouldn't really be dealing with this thing too devastating to your physical structure.
Now let's give people an idea. You live in an apartment and you relapse.
Yeah.
What happens to the things in that apartment?
No, well, the first thing is that if you have a little money, you might have a couple $100 in a drawer or in a shirt pocket or something there, and you're going in your bed and sleep, and you start to hear something saying, hey boy, what happened? You're ignoring me or what? What happened? You see, I'm waiting for you to, boy, come now, boy, let me go down the road now. The money started to tell you, let me go down the road.
When I tell people that they feel joke,
they feel joke, I'm making the money, telling them, let me go. And when the money done now, and they start to study all sorts of, I don't know what kind of magic or what is it want to think, but you might watch the TV, the first thing is, they don't call cell phone for nothing. Because the first thing you have is the phone, and you go and sell the phone. Right? And the thing, the hard part about the phone is a personal thing, boy. You have your personal things on that.
And the pusher taking it.
And the pusher taking it and wiping it clean and looking for sale for that.
After the phone?
After the phone, you look, you say, all right, let me see boy, it's movable. I have a little ring, I have a little watch, I have a little chain. I might have a microwave, I might have appliances, TV. Next thing, everything, the whole house clean. And everything.
And you can't stop yourself from doing that?
And you can't stop yourself. They're telling you this thing because you want more. You don't care how you get it. And although you care, you're afraid to do something wrong to get it because you know you don't want to go and sit down behind no bars.
Right.
So for me, I say, well, if something belongs to me, it's mine. Me do nobody nothing is myself are doing.
Correct.
But that thinking had to go because I know, not realize, I don't know that don't want me to have. And when I have, that is vexed because that's the spirit. If you thought you were suffering in life before, if you thought life was hard and you're sucking salt, brother, you ain't see nothing yet. As you touch that baby, that thing there, wherever that is, you becomes like a zombie. Everything you have is to go for to that. Everything. And I telling you, once you get a taste of recovery as a newcomer, I tell you, as a newcomer to recovery, prior to the war zone you come out from, it come like a newborn baby all over again. You have to learn new things. So I have a little something. I don't know if I could.
Yes, no,
Yeah.
Come to that just now. I want to go to a break, and when we return, we will deal with the family, because we have your sister who will join us from overseas, and we'll have both Miss Bowen, because the family is affected.
Yes.
Despite how they try to isolate themselves from you, they are affected.
And they're affected years after, even when you're clean for years after.
Mm-hmm.
They still bear the wound, they still bear the scars. That scar don't go away from them just so you know.
And of course we will, again, Mr. Haddad, I can't stop calling his name because of the attention he paid to you. You relapsed many times under him, he came pick you back up and he started again with you.
Yeah.
And how did you feel every time you did it with him?
Well, I tell you, I don't know. I must say that support is awesome and unearthly. Is that the support I get from the hardcore group is really what have me here sitting here today. I owe my life to Mr. Robert Haddad. Physically and literally and everything, I'm telling you. Because if it was not for that gentleman, it's not me giving up on somebody else, it's me giving up on me. I would have given up on this person here if I hadn't had that man help me. Yeah?
If you're just joining us, you're listening to Dependency. Let's go to that break. Excuse me. And when we return, we're going to show you some of Sheldon's work online for a few minutes, and then we'll come back with his sister. And we just ask her about the family issue, how they dealt with it and all of that. And then Ms. Bowen would contribute to that as well, and speak to you, the members of the family who are suffering right now, want to give up on your addict, and you don't know if to believe them or not. When one day they would say yes, they want help, and then the next day they would say, nah, I good. It's all they want the help. They have a problem. That's how it works. That's what happens. So we're going to show you some of the work of Sketch Aberdeen when we return after this break, and then we'll look at the family side of it. Those of you just joining us, especially those of you on the YouTube channel and Facebook, please remember to like and subscribe. Click that bell, and so that you'll be notified every time we go live. We're going to take a break. We'll be back. Hello?
Hello, Mr. Dobson here from HMP London. Can I speak to Mr. James, please?
This is Mr. James speaking.
Thank you. Can you hold the line? I have a call coming through to you, sir.
Sure.
Hello, Daddy.
Hello, yes, Brian?
Daddy, I'm just calling to tell you that I'm locked up in the UK for drug trafficking.
Okay. You lock up? And you tell me I was going to Bago? And I tell you about them boy I was liming with? Well, all right. Don't drop the soap. Carry on.
On Dependency, reality radio at its best every Sunday on 95.5 FM. Don't miss it.
Yes, girl. Online here with this weirdo named Larry. I'm getting rid of him now. Let's take a selfie. It looking good, boy. I putting it online.
Hey, I thought you say you went to the beach with your parents.
Who's you?
It's me, Larry, from online.
Eye on Dependency with Garth and Natasha.
Reality radio at its best, where every life is a biography.
Sundays at 10 a.m. and exclusively on 95.5 FM.
And streamed live on the Eye on Dependency Facebook page and YouTube channel.
Can they hear me?
All right. So here's Sheldon's sister joining us now. Before she does that, good morning, Alicia.
Good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes, we're hearing you now. And thank you very much for joining us. And this
Thank
your
you for
loving
having me.
and your loving brother is in studio here with us.
I see,
And
I see.
you can see us, right?
I can, yes. Even though
Okay.
I can't maximize the screen, but I do see you.
Right. And Chopin, let's go to that video quickly, please. Thanks. Video A, which is an example of Sheldon finally coming in for a smooth landing after trying several times to keep this plane flying and landing safely. And of course, you will have.
And it's a good metaphor as well for him.
Determination to keep trying until he succeeds. This is what it says here to us. So here's his first aircraft taken to the skies.
I had to draw the plans, right? I had to draw the plans, cut out the framework, and then cover it with the sun motor. Install the radio installation, and the gas engine. Go up higher now, go up higher. He's very skillful with model planes. It seems like he's a A-class model plane operator.
Right.
And he used to test fly all my planes. Yeah. And this plane was 9 pounds when it was finished.
Okay.
It had a Fox 40 engine up front and a Fakuba 4-channel.
Come Larry, second sticking.
Radio system in it. When I say 4-channel, they have throttle, elevator, rudder, ailerons.
So this one crashed, and you are trying again with another one.
Yeah, we're trying another one.
And when I say crashed, the landing was not perfect.
This one lost a wheel on takeoff. The wheel went rolling down the runway. So this is the Sup with Camille. I draw the plans for that, and I built it. I used monocoat, balsa wood, and CA glue with a little epoxy, and I built this plane. It used a 4S battery with an electric engine. This wasn't gas, this was electric. But the wheel, it lost the wheel, so it crashed.
Right. So
this one is another gas operated one. This one was built strictly a balsa and monocoat. Monocoat is the material that is covered over it. You have to heat it on.
Okay.
So it has a skeleton, the entire shape of that.
No, all of this was self-taught, Sheldon?
Self-taught. This is an amphibian. This could land on. I still have this one here up to now. It have a lot of dust on it though, because it was in storage for a long time. And this could land on water and take off from water.
Wow.
It has pontoons under each ring, and the hull, the bottom of the hull is a boat.
Right. So that one crashed too as well. And is the same with the Wright brothers did it before they finally stayed in the sky, you know.
Yeah.
So here it is. Here's another plane up in the air, folks.
This is the same Sopwith Camel, built by Mr. Sopwith. Designed by Mr. Sopwith back in 1914.
Right.
I did a replica of it.
Okay.
And it flew well, except the engine overheat. So it lost power and it went down before it could have reached the runway.
Okay. So that's this one that
it went down, but it didn't crash. It didn't sustain any damages because it went down in the bush.
Okay.
You see?
So here
the bush
it goes.
Break the fall.
The bush.
Right.
Wow. Right. Now this one now.
This is another all metal wood frame but metal skin that I test flew. And it wasn't trimmed properly. So eventually crashed.
When you say it wasn't trimmed,
well, the control surfaces, I don't know, something was wrong with it. It wasn't perfect.
But this is the one that came in for the landing, right?
No,
not this one. Okay.
That went down not too far down the road, like the center of gravity or something wasn't right with the way I put it together, so it couldn't stay airborne much for long.
So this
it
one
went down right there.
Right. So those of you listening on radio, Sheldon just demonstrating. We just demonstrating here some of the aircraft he made, model aircrafts he made.
This one
now
is the successful flight.
This was the successful flight here.
Yeah.
And this is the flight that he's on right now that will come in for a successful landing. Because Sheldon, after this what happened. After this, every time you stay off and relapse, it gets worse than the last time.
Yeah, each relapse is worse than the last one.
Good.
Is a matter of fact.
Right. So this is the flight, folks, that came in for a smooth landing, and you all did it well, because I kept wondering how you going to land a plane with such a short runway, and perfect, but for some way you all got it, and I like the celebration after when you realize, hey, good touchdown,
yeah,
and here it is, smooth landing. Wow. And yeah, that's Sheldon Aberdeen, folks.
That was one of the happiest times. I like to see when they touch down properly.
Yes.
And the way they ought to.
Yeah, well, and you could run. Let's go to Alicia first. So, Sheldon, before we So, Alicia, morning to you again, and thank you very much for sitting through that display, and I'm sure you're proud of your brother here this morning. And tell us, Alicia, how did Sheldon's addiction affect you and the family? Shortman, we're coming back to Alicia now. Hold on, Alicia, hold on. Right.
There you go.
Good.
All right.
Yes, so how tell us quick, because we're going to run out of time and we don't want to do that. So,
All right.
as briefly as you can, tell us first of all, how did that, Sheldon's addiction affect you and the family?
You mean how has it
Yeah,
continued to affect us? It doesn't stop.
No, but how did it affect your family? Yes, because from your perspective.
It was a really rough time. I can tell you from my perspective, it was very difficult to understand what was happening. Like Sheldon said, we grew up in a real strict Seventh-day Adventist home, and it was always whether you want to admit it or not, it was always what they gonna say, how it gonna look, you know. It was so hard to understand that somebody like Sheldon, who, if you knew him back then, I mean, we used to nickname him Marvin Gaye. He was all that. You know, he was very talented, very good looking, very, you know, half of a twin. He had everything going for him, you know. These planes, I remember being 8 or 9 and Sheldon being maybe, he's what, 6 years my senior, and Daddy would take us to the savannah. He's been doing this since he was a child. You know, he was amazing. I personally, I've always been artistic as well, and because he and Sean, his twin, they were very, very good artists from a young age. They were appearing in newspaper articles, doing their artwork together and stuff. And I followed everything they did. You know, now naturally Sean was love and fantasy, Sheldon was cowboys and, you know, that kind of, so I gravitated towards Sean, but they were both amazing in what they did. So to watch Sheldon, to watch his life degenerate like that, and it seems so sudden, even though obviously signs were there, you know.
Because I was just about to ask.
The first girl, the girls were sheltered, so it was rough. There was a lot of shame and embarrassment. It was scary, you know. A lot of prayers. We prayed a lot. We tried so many things. It was hard.
Now, when did you all realize? When did you all realize that he, you know, when did you become aware that he was using cocaine?
Okay, so I am not sure when my parents knew, but I reckoned with it when the first time I saw Mommy expel him from the house. Because to me that was unfathomable. I was like, what is going on? And that's when I first became aware that there was something more than marijuana in the picture.
Right.
Right. And I don't know how long he would have been already, you know, using when I realized. But that's when I realized. Once Mommy put him out, that's when I realized, okay, there's more going on here.
Now he ended up on the streets. Now, how did you feel when you saw him on the streets?
Oh my God, it was heart-wrenching. It was heart-wrenching. It still is, just thinking about it. Painful. Very painful. There were times when we would avoid, if we had to get from where we were in Marval to Dale Martin or anywhere in the West, we would avoid certain routes just to try to not have to see him like that, you know?
Right.
It was really, really tough. I remember leaving doubles on the sidewalk for him, and I didn't even take 2 steps away and somebody else grabbed them doubles and gone, because of course he in a coma. It was really, really hard watching that, you know.
So you mean while he was sleeping, you would pass and drop 2 doubles for him and then...
Oh my God, yeah, my sister, we never, once we ran into Sheldon, whether it was during the day or in the night time when we parked, because we were party animals, so that was part of the coping mechanism. I don't know what we would do if we didn't have the friends we had, because our friends really became our family. And any of them listening now know what I'm talking about, you know? But it didn't matter who I was with or when. Once I ran into Sheldon, I would always acknowledge him, sometimes even with a hug, not knowing where the heck he was and smelling the way he was smelling. We would never ignore him. Sheldon, do you remember that? No matter
I remember that, yes.
We would
I remember
stop.
that good. I remember that time you all stopped right there, and you and Vanessa stopped right there by Sylvester.
And we would leave broken hearted, like you wouldn't imagine. But you know,
was there ever a point in time where you you and your siblings and your family gave up on him? You figured there's nothing we can do to help?
Well, give up in terms of what we were actually able to do, because this thing takes a lot, not just mentally and physically. You need to have money, you need to have resources. And at the time we were going through that, we weren't aware, I should say. I was going to say there wasn't, but I would say we weren't aware of any real support systems and infrastructure in place to sustain, you know, so it was hit or miss. We would try to put him here or try to put him there. Some of us even try, like Sheldon spent time at my house. He spent about 9 months at my sister's house. You know, so we would try, and then when we realized, well, we have no more resources, what we did, and I really want to speak from my perspective now, but I know it's true for most of us, what we did was, you see that prayer and quiet supplication, that was constant. And I believe that that is what sustained him. That is what sent the help. That is what all these amazing people who came and decided that it was their duty to help him. You know, that's where the prayer, I believe, really took effect. You know, because you do feel helpless. You do end up feeling the anxiety and the vexation of not having control and not being able to, you know. And then you're dealing with all of this while you're dealing with your own selfish issues, because sometimes, you know, you feel like you're to blame. Like, what part did you have in making him go down this road? It's a lot. It's a lot. And you never get over it. You really never do. You just try to figure out a way to live with it. It's like losing a sibling. You don't ever get over that loss. You just figure out a way to navigate through life with it, you know?
Yeah, go ahead.
Am I answering your question?
The embarrassment, yes.
Yes.
Because it's easy to go off point.
No, okay, the embarrassment, they said you want to address the embarrassment factor.
Yes.
You said there's no need to be embarrassed and remove the stigma and acknowledge and deal with the issue head on.
Absolutely.
For the families listening, tell us a bit about that quickly.
I couldn't help but nod my head in several directions when I listened to the doctor you have present. I'm sorry, I forget your name, but she hit every nail on the head with that. Right? It has to be a situation where you acknowledge what's going on. There must be acknowledgement across the board, including what, you know, parts the environment played, what part the family and how, you know, maybe how we were raised, or what rules you have in place. Or you cannot be embarrassed about something like this. You have to acknowledge it in order to address it.
Now,
right?
before we
how it going to look and what it going to say need to be put aside.
Yes.
And you need solid people in your corner.
Now, before we go to the art show, let's come to Ms. Bowen, who will talk to the families now about how. Yes,
you know.
Yes. How does that affect the family addiction?
Hit every nail on it.
For a lot of us, it's guilt and shame and blame. And yes, there are lots of questions about why this particular individual and not the others. Because, for example, again, I have to look at my own life, and there were 6 of us. So why 2 out of the 6, and why the boys and not the girls? So that is the question. The other thing, too, is the confusion and that sense of helplessness. Because the thing is that, as Alicia said, it's true. You work with the script that you have, but in a lot of instances, because there isn't advocacy for us to really be able to go to different resources and to get the information that we need, and more importantly, to understand the challenges associated with substance abuse, we feel lost. So you will also find that for a lot of people as well, you have to look at the generational curses. I like to call it generational curses because certain families, and I know like in my family, addiction formed part of our profile, but it was labeled under social acceptance. So that in my parents' time, we all grew up seeing my father as an alcoholic, functional. He never missed a day's work. Actually, he got, I was always mesmerized by that. Upon his retirement, he got a plaque, and I was there as part of the recipient team. But I looked at it and I said, you're not looking at the fact. Of course, I can't say this to my parents, and I never did, that part of this spiral for my brothers had to do with the fact that you legitimize the use of a substance. And I mean, and a lot of us, we come out of that mindset because for everything in our culture as well, substance abuse, substance use forms part of our culture. Yes. From the time you're born until you die. You are exposed to the use of a substance because again, that's the plantation mentality, and as God says, we really have to look at this over a period of time. But I mean, we came out of a plantation where alcohol and cigarettes was part of the ergonomics of the environment, availability, accessibility, the fact too that certain things are encouraged and endorsed, and we laugh it off and that kind of thing. But
so what would you say to a mother, or right now, a mother who's listening to you, who has a son who using cocaine? And they would want to know, well, how you prepare them for this journey?
Yeah, the thing about it is, Scott, we all know this. There's no preparation because there's no manual. I don't know why people think that, and again, I have to go back to the fact that all drugs are not created equal. For a lot of us, we have to look at the individual with whom we are placed to have to work with, and we also have to not deny our history, not deny our heritage. There's no way to emancipate the actions of this person from the history through which this person has become. And even from the point of view of genetics, because there are some people who are genetically predisposed to the use of a substance. I mean, for example, recognizing that I have never drunk or smoked in my 66 years. People ask me all the time, do you think that you can? I said, yes, I can, because it's available and accessible. But I made the conscious decision because I was the one within the family who had to operate like a hero. I had to operate as a caretaker. I had to operate as a scapegoat. I had to operate as an addict sometimes because I became addicted to getting my brothers well. So I lost a lot of who I was. It wasn't until my parents and one of my brothers passed that at age 60 that I finally said, I am now giving myself permission to start understanding who I was, because I did not know who I was. I was addiction. So it's very, very difficult to watch somebody and say, okay, here's the formula. And that's why I say to people, I don't label myself under the umbrella of what the profession says that I do, because then people look at you as some kind of messiah or some kind of yardstick that will tell them what is the right thing to do. And correct. I cannot tell you what to do. But we can work together based on what you are telling me. But you have to be honest, you have to be truthful, you have to be vulnerable, you have to accept certain things that really are triggers for you yourself, and that's a lot of hard work, and so that's why we're always recovering and never recovered.
So in a sense, what you're saying is that the addict himself or herself must admit they have a problem and they need the help. There's no other way for them to start this journey.
And the family members, everybody have to admit that, listen, this is not a personalized thing, this is not an individual thing. And I mean, even communities have to recognize that as well. Because in a lot of instances, people like to talk about addiction in isolation, but the person who is selling you is just as addicted as the person who is using, because they're addicted to power, control, and dominance. They're not going anywhere either. they are not going anywhere either. And they are also exposing their children and their family to severe risks, tremendous risks. So they are no better off than any one of us. So we have to come together as a community, as a society, and really look at what the roles and functions are. If we want to at least let people be aware that you don't have to if you choose not to, as well as to advocate for those who have decided that that is the route they want to go. Because we talk a lot about education, but what is the sense of having the education? You have nowhere to go once you are educated. It doesn't make any sense. So therefore now you have to get the government and those agencies involved as well, because that kind of support, isolation alone and being put into prison is not an it doesn't do, it's not a solution. It may be a trigger for some people, but it probably adds to the problem, because once you come out and you don't have any resources because the family abandoned, you're not going to get a job, nobody wants to employ you, nobody wants to see you in a rehab because you went there 100 times already, we don't know what else to do for you, then what happens to that person?
If you're just joining us, you're listening to Dependency, and we are, speaking with Sheldon Sketch Aberdeen once again, and Miss Bowen and his sister has joined us online. Sheldon has a piece to share with us, and I want you to listen to that when we give him the opportunity to do so, folks. The thing is, as well, the punitive way we deal with things. For instance, there was a school in Tobago. They prevented children from graduating because they caught them vaping. But the vaping still selling.
Correct.
But you prevent them from graduating, and you did nothing about the people who selling the vaping.
Correct. And again, that is the lack of knowledge and the lack of understanding, the lack of empathy, and also this whole thing about isolation. One of the things about addiction is that addiction and isolation don't do well. And if we all recognize that we have addictive personalities, but what is different for us is our drug of choice, then we'd be able to work together to make it different.
Right. So Natasha,
yes.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
Alicia.
So Alicia, tell us about the painting in the garden initiative and how Sheldon is going to be involved in that.
Well, okay. So I do this annual fall art show and fundraiser. We started in 2019 and we call it Paintings in the Garden. So this is the 5th year. And if you go back to the very first one and you read the literature on it, my mission statement, my why, my reasons for doing what I do with this show, all talk about Sheldon and the fact that I don't call his name until this year, of course, but it's my lived experiences with homelessness through looking at my brother, and how it affected the entire family. That has been my inspiration for giving in this way. So what we do is we have an art show that is really a cross-pollination of genres of art. So we display paintings, but we also have performing arts involved that speak directly to whatever the stories that the paintings are telling is. And every piece that sells, every ticket that sells at the door, every dollar that is earned through this one night gala, a percentage of it is donated to the cause, right? And then the full exhibit goes up in a proper gallery for like 2 weeks after the fact. Now, to be able to be at a point where the very source of my inspiration could actually be a part of my show, I trying real hard to contain myself right here. I am beyond elated that Sheldon has agreed, and I want everybody to apply the pressure because I want that playing in my show. He has agreed to come on and bless us with a plane, which 100% of the proceeds from the sale of that plane will go to the charity of choice that we have asked to give it to. So we're in talks with Mr. Sinclair, and I were talking about that. Miss Lily Aiken and I of Hardcore. I can't thank Hardcore enough. Anyway, she and I also were in talks about how we should allocate it. So, but the point is, Sheldon is now lending his talents to the very show that he's inspired. He didn't even know that. How many years doing this? He had no idea he was the main inspiration. He's now finally being a part of the show, and I look forward to that just immensely. And I really appreciate you all allowing me to actually come in and help now. So
thanks very much. Thank you. So before Sheldon shares his piece for you, just go to the photo gallery B, short man, show that. And I'm going to say morning to those of you on YouTube. Please remember to like and subscribe while you're there. All Rodriguez did, and those of you contributing. Thank you so much for your love for Sheldon this morning. He's an old one, an old soldier, and I'm going to say good morning to Gary Garcia and Glenn Wiggins. Those are the two RPs who came to pick you up in St. James.
Yep.
And take you to Camp Ogden. This is Sheldon when he was on the street. I'll never forget this picture, Sheldon, as long as I live. This one.
I was trying to remember who took that photo.
I took that. Natasha and I, that time, Dependency was on a Sunday.
See that gentleman there? That's Larry. That's my test pilot.
Okay.
He's really good.
Natasha and I, we were going to do the program on Sunday when we were on evening time. Yeah. And as we normally would pass up Mokrapa Road, and you were there that Sunday. I say, Natasha, stop. Let me take this picture, Sheldon. And
this is my family here. When I I was on the streets maybe 5 years or so. Yeah, or
so
more.
This is the wife and children here?
This is my wife and my 4 children.
Wow.
Yeah.
Beautiful children. And this is
in my boat house. This is from this last stint here. I did these to keep myself occupied. I built this. This is a German U-boat from the Second Holocaust. That's I still have that home right now.
Right.
That's me in front of Reboot House.
Right. So this is when you started.
You looking vexed here, man.
This is when you started your journey here, right?
And the phone that went missing had my later progress as I came along with in Reboot House. To this date, I lost those photos. But
this is a sketch. A lady sent this sketch to us. It's Gloria.
This is the first one we got.
Yeah.
Annette,
sorry.
Yeah.
Annette sent this. This is a sketch you did of her.
Okay, lovely.
And
somehow I can remember that. That was a long time ago.
Yeah, and she was. And one of them was saying, "A pity you didn't put the date on it." You know when you did.
And that house there, believe it or not, that's the house I grew up in.
Okay.
But I just put this car next to it. I built a Hitler mobile that Hitler used to drive, and I just put it next to the house and take a picture. I don't know. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, but
and this is
that's me.
A part of recovery again, right?
Yeah,
this
is
part
of recovery.
Right. I just look at the transformation from when you were on the streets to it just goes to show that people can change, people can pull themselves together.
Yes,
because sometimes when you reach to that level on the streets, that's it, There's no turning back for some,
Yeah. I tell you, I doubt it today that I really be on that stage I was.
This is our soldier
sketch that was sent us.
Yes. Benton. This is Benton Williams. This was done in 2009. And he's online now watching. Morning to you, old soldier. And this is what you sent us, a sketch that Sheldon did for you. This is your daughter. Look at Sheldon's daughter.
This is my daughter. Before her wedding, the very day she got married. Yeah.
So, Sheldon, somebody asked if you're going to write a book. What's the name of the book?
The name of the book is Ice Cream in the Sun.
Right.
And the subtitle, How 8310 Became Addicted.
That's the cover of the book there right now.
Yeah, How 8310 Became Addicted.
8310, that's your regimental number.
My regimental number, 8310.
Right.
Became Addicted.
But the name of the book will be Ice Cream in the Sun.
Yeah, Ice Cream in the Sun.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that name. So, folks, prepare for when, he'll be here to launch that book. So, thank you very much. Yes. Gerard Jacobs, morning to you too, another old soldier. You have a lot of support from the military here this morning. Alison Cameo
That's
and
my little sister. That's Lisa in the pram there. The same lady who talking to us now.
That's
her
Lisa in the pram.
Yeah.
Okay.
And those are my brothers. They are all deceased.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah. And this is a German. This is not German. This is a British World War II British commando.
No, you see, you make these things out of what?
Paper. I make this out of a sort of paper board, hardboard.
Wow.
Cardboard.
These are your sons, your two handsome
And
sons.
these are my two sons, Christian and Colonel, and that's me there at my daughter's wedding.
Your two sons, but you have two handsome sons,
Yes.
Sheldon.
Yes.
Wow.
I have another one too, but he's not there. Yeah. This is a Austin Morris that I built, or either the Cambridge or the Morris.
That's the Cambridge.
Yeah, that's the Cambridge.
But this is this made out of paper too.
Made out of paper.
I think I was steering in it, and I
has
can't get over that one.
It has steering, it has dashboard, it has seats.
This is another sketch that was sent in to us.
There's a little baby.
Jihan. And she still has it up in her room. This was, I think, when she was 4 years old, and she still has it hanging up in her room.
Oh no, she just yeah. So this is, who is this?
That's
here?
my daughter and my sister. That's Vanessa. That's my daughter Kimberly, and that's me there.
Wow.
Yeah.
So, folks, if you're listening on radio, Sheldon is just describing what we're seeing here. You built a tank.
And this is a Sherman, this is an American World War II M3 Sherman.
Material.
That's paper, make out of paper.
again?
Paper?
Yeah.
Wow. You blessed beyond reason.
This is mommy and dad.
This is my mom and my dad when they married.
Right. You remember what's your dad's regimental number?
He was 3100.
Okay.
3100. That's his military number, 3100.
So this is Sheldon's father here now. And what's his name?
Kingsley Aberdeen.
Kingsley Aberdeen.
That's Kingsley and Myrna.
Kingsley and Myrna.
So that's your mom and dad.
That's
there.
my mom and dad when they married.
Right.
First regiment wedding on the island.
Yeah. That's the
Really?
The first soldiers were married in Trinidad in military wedding, yeah.
Wow.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I babble when I wedding.
And that's me at 18. That's when I came out from a weekend from army training. And my pen pal came from Canada. Anne-Marie is her name, or Rosemary.
Okay.
Rosemary. That's Rosemary. She was my pen pal. And she came to
All
look
of
for
one
me.
now.
Pen pal.
Remember those days?
Remember those days. Hello, Dad. How are you? I hope fine.
And that's
Wendell Man Warren in the shot there with you.
I forget that guy name,
That's
boy.
Wendell Man
Warren.
Right, Wendell Man Warren. My daughter and myself. At the box, I had an exhibition. I had an exhibition there, and that was it.
This are the portraits that he did
That's
for us last week.
There's Gata and Natasha.
Yeah.
Sheldon did that for us.
Last week.
That looked real good, yeah.
And Andy Hospitalis has joined the crew. Morning, Hospitalis, and thank you very much for joining us. And thank you for the support. You built this.
This is a Cessna 150 that I converted from rubber band power to remote control. I sorry I didn't give you some pictures of the remote control finish.
And this is you and your two sons.
This is my two sons on the beach up Maracas. That's Christian and Colonel. This Colonel here, he's a soldier right now. That last one there.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he's a soldier. That last one there.
Look at the baby.
Wow. So actually, and these are here. Who was
And this is my eldest daughter, Kelly. And that is Cook, my big son. And that is Christian there. That's Hazel, my wife. My ex-wife.
So you have a lot to live for still, Sheldon.
That's my ex-wife.
You know.
He does. Yes, he does.
Absolutely.
And that is me at the flying field with my separate camel before its maiden flight. To which it had a couple of crashes and it still stayed together. It never mashed up. It was well built.
Right. Morning, Gardner. Thank you very much for joining us too as well. And those all 200 of you on YouTube, please remember, if each one of you like and subscribe, you'll be
I see
keeping
these portraits. They look good.
Yeah. Who's this one? Look,
That
I can't remember. She
don't know
didn't
who
send her
did
name,
that.
I don't think. But yeah.
Look at the Cessna here. This is the converted version right here. You see it?
Yeah.
It was rubber powered. Now it's radio. It's a 4-channel.
Good morning, Batch Dookie. Good morning. Somebody said you and your dad were in the military together.
Allison.
Who, Allison?
Yeah.
Okay.
This is the last one.
Folks, if you listen to us on the radio, you're listening to Our Dependency, and we are speaking with Sheldon Sketch Aberdeen, and Miss Maureen Bowen is in studio. What is this here?
This was me at the Savannah when they throw a show for me. The guy who took me off the streets, he named it Green and Yellow.
Okay.
And it was in the hollows. Right on Savannah there?
Right.
The guy came, right, picked me up off the street, put me in some fresh clothes, and I had to go by the door and sign autograph. And when the show finished, take back off your clothes and put back on my rags and go back on the...
Sheldon, could you share what you have to say here before we take some calls?
Yeah.
So, Alicia, Ms. Bowen, and folks who are listening, let's hear from Sheldon now. Sheldon has something to say to you all.
Okay, folks, I prepared this last evening, and I hope I covered everything in it. It goes, my name is Sheldon Aberdeen, and I am an addict, recovering from addiction. I have something which I would like to share with you, and it goes like this. First, I would like to thank my higher power for keeping me clean and sober today. Also, I would like to thank the Hardcore Group for giving me hope. Thank you, Mr. Robert Haddad, Miss Lily Aiken, Maureen Bowen, Mr. Vincent, Miss Maureen Bowen, Mr. Vincent Meharry, and Miss Brenda Celestine at Reboat House. Mr. Vincent and Miss Brenda is related to Reboat House directly. For everything you have done for me presently. I am 1 year and 1 month clean from my last relapse. Praise the Lord. Recovery for me is being first and foremost honest with self first and all else after. And attending meetings regularly, and no matter what, stay away from the first one, because one is too much and 1,000 never enough. Being polite at all times goes a very long way. Humility is the key to authority in recovery. Also, in recovery, staying clean is actually preserving what's left of one's health. We all know how crucial good health is. Health is wealth. Though relapse is a part of early recovery process, there comes a time when enough is enough. Another no-no is overconfidence, and in other words, it is okay to have good intentions or expectations, but not to predetermine the outcome, because disappointment is a trigger when you're early in recovery. It is better to face life on life's terms, clean and sober, than to be a slave doing drugs. Having a peace of mind is the ultimate objective. Until I perfect the art of learning how to live a drug-free life. Thank you, Sheldon Aberdeen. I hope it makes sense.
Thank you very much. Yes,
it does make
absolutely.
Sense,
I just wanted to ask a question before we let Alicia go. Sheldon, we saw some pictures of your very beautiful children. What do you have to say to them, and how can you in your recovery do better for them as a father?
Well, what I would say to my children, I would say to the rest of this nation. I, as a young soldier in the regiment, I was attached to, my batch formed the Delta Company of the Trinity Tobago Defense Force. There's Alpha, Bravo, Charlie, Delta,
And Echo.
Echo. Well, my company motto, Delta Company's motto in those days, it was never give up, try again. So I would say, be persistent and consistent in whatever you endeavor. Never give up. Try again. Because before I could have built an aircraft to fly, you know how much times I built a plane and it didn't fly? And look at where I reach now. I could build model planes to give a man, and that man with skills in his hand could take it off the runway and have it flying.
Yes.
Right. So that took a lot of years and a lot of trial and failure. So same thing I think it requires in everyday living. We ought to be persistent and consistent.
Right, hold it right there. Before we take a few calls here, Gary.
Lies and lies. Running wild, running free, got me winded, far but then, turn me on and turn me off. What's the use, what's the use, I'm at love. She's got no place for me.
Messages in the music. Sheldon has requested a song, Synthetic World. Gary, if you could find that for him, please. Swamp Dog. 6223937. Let's take a quick couple of calls for Sheldon. And remember, keep your calls short so we can get in as much as possible. Joan Frederick says, God blessings to you on your journey in recovery, Sheldon. And thank us for allowing you to share your story. And Marcia Gill Prasad says, congratulations to you.
Swamp.
And
Dog.
The third one down.
Blessings and love to you, Sheldon. Happy for you. My children grew up with you. God blessings to you. This is from J. Douglas. Alan Ford says, you bring back memories, my brother. And Edward said, beautiful pictures. Buenas George says, blessings to everyone and congratulations to you, Sheldon. Joan Duncan says, blessings and best wishes to you in recovery. Proud of you.
Thank you.
And again, as I tell you, you always have to, anytime those of you who just joined us, you can go back to our Facebook page or YouTube channel. And Gary, let's take the first call for Sheldon quickly. Morning. Hello, good morning.
Yes, hello, good morning. Is this Ion Dependency?
Yes, it is.
Yes. I am calling this morning with a very, very joyous spirit. I only heard about the advertisement about your program today with Sheldon Sketch, and I want to call this morning and say thank God for the blessings that he has put on Sheldon. My name is, Sheldon would know me as Kerry when he used to live in Champlain with Hazel and his children. Those wonderful children that you're seeing there, they still live in Champlain, and I see them from time to time when I go back. I don't know if Sheldon will remember me.
Of course, Terry, I go forget you.
Yeah.
Bless.
Sheldon.
Yeah.
Even when I used to be, in the Marine unit, in the customs and that kind of thing, and I used to pass through St. James, always stop, look for you regardless of wherever I was doing, never too busy.
Right.
I want to say to you, thanks for giving me some much needed inspiration in the effort that you're making, partner.
Okay.
And like you rightly say, you can't give up. You can't give up, regardless of whatever life throws at you. You cannot give up. And I just wish that a lot of my friends and a lot of people who actually still in Champlain and that kind of thing could have actually seen this or looking or listened to this program this morning. And I want to say, Sheldon, if there's anything I could do, to assist you in any way, feel free to contact me. My number is 460-7880. I still go back into Champlain from time to time. I still see your sons. Your children are doing very well, Sheldon. You must give thanks to God for all of that because they have grown to be very, very productive and worthwhile young men.
Thank you very much, sir. Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot for that.
Have a good day, everybody.
Yeah, and Jerry Goodrich said good morning. Jerry Goodrich was the guy with the Land Rover in St. James, right by who lived on the corner.
Yeah.
So he would sometimes give a little breakfast and thing, and a tall former police officer, right? So he sent his love too as well. Hello, good morning.
Good morning, Garth and Natasha and all those on the panel there.
Good morning.
I want to tell Sheldon, don't give up. God is in control of his life, and he has to always remember to give God thanks. Thank him in everything that he do. Lift those hands and give him thanks because God is guiding him to a better world. Blessed morning to everyone. I listened to him last week and I listened to him this week. And it brings tears to my eye because I had a brother who was like that. But God moved him early young. But God is in control of his life. God have him there for a purpose. And continue. Don't give up.
Thank
you very much.
Thank you very much. Give a little taste of the music before we come in.
Someone's trying to make me weak. Strange initials to keep me.
Good morning.
Psychedelic music to blow my mind. So you
Thank St. Clair.
Morning.
Good morning to the psychologist, Sheldon's sister, and Sheldon. Sheldon boy, I am proud of you. You have done well. Keep up the good works, and may your light continue to shine upon you.
Thanks a lot,
Your
my friend.
inspiration to us.
Thanks a lot.
Enough respect.
Okay.
Hey you, I'm up from the bayou, where wildlife runs free. You could say that I'm country, but let me tell you what I see.
Good morning, sir.
Morning.
Morning, guys. Morning, Sheldon. Morning to everybody and his sister and stuff, I don't know, tell Sheldon, stay strong. I'm glad that Robert Haddad and the team at Remote House is there to support him. What Sheldon needs is support, continuously support, and support, and he needs people to, and I'm glad that God and you all is there for him. Sheldon, boy, you stay strong. It's like you're listening to a movie. So, morning to everybody.
I hear you, brother. Good morning to you too. And God bless you.
Thanks a lot, my brother.
Free strength.
Yes, thanks a lot. And what we pledge to do, folks, is at least once a month we could have Sheldon, because addiction is an ongoing thing. It's not going to go away. Pusher's not going to go away. The supplier's not going to go away. But they will always have victims as well. And we have to look out and continue to look out for the victims as we do here on our Dependency. Hello, good morning. Good morning.
Hello.
Good morning.
Morning.
Yes, God and Natasha. Good morning. This is Auntie Betty from Teachers again.
Auntie Betty.
Hello, good morning.
You like it again?
I didn't record the voice long time.
I just want to tell Sheldon, I'm still standing here for him. Whatever little help he needs, I told him that a long time ago. I'm always here. Whatever little finance come down, I will drop you back. I will drop you back.
Okay,
You
Auntie.
but come down by your grandmother's house, bathe in the sea, Let me make the pot bake as before.
Okay. I will see if I can pick up a couple of my sons and come down.
Yeah?
I'll see if I'll get my boys and them to come down with me.
Even come with Gat and Natasha, or look at baby.
Right?
That pot bake sounding nice, you know. I could drive for that pot bake. Where she live?
Seagrass.
Seagrass.
Yeah.
You don't want to come back.
Oh God.
You sure you wouldn't want to go back to
I'll take a plane.
That's one good one.
Yeah, that's a Saturday morning. We could go and get some pot bake in Seagrass, Natasha. What do you think? All right.
Right.
Folks, yes. All right. Thank you very much, Auntie Betty. We have to kind of get to wrap it up now because the news coming up at 12.
Give you that a little bit.
Oi.
Love you, darling.
Love you too, Cox.
Mwah.
Yeah, mwah.
I love you.
Love you more.
Same here.
Give you a little bit of the
Hey you, I'm up from the bayou.
Kalana belly boy.
Where wildlife runs free. You could say that I'm country, but let me tell you what I see.
Yeah, Alicia, is a nice part of the recovery, the belly. But
Absolutely.
Yeah. You know how they six pack like that.
you know, anytime you start to lose weight, they're gonna say like you relapse, boy.
Anytime you see six pack, they tell you it's a different story. But this time, I know it's God Jim. God Jim, I give me that.
Yeah. Hey, folks, Gary, let's squeeze one more quickly. Caller, I have one more. Hello, morning.
Good morning.
Morning.
Good morning to the panel. Good morning to Sheldon.
Good morning, my lady.
Oh my goodness, I turned on the radio and I am hearing of a Sheldon. I said, wait, could it be the Sheldon in my living room with the sketches of my two daughters and myself? Let me check. Yes, Sheldon Aberdeen. Oh my God, Sheldon,
yes.
I'm so proud of you. You have such amazing talent. When we stopped in St. James, by the time the light changed, you did a sketch. Amazing. Always respectful. Congratulations, and may God continue to bless you.
Thank you, my lady. Thank you.
Okay.
God bless you too.
That's mind blowing, that you could draw somebody before a light change. Skeleton, that is a talent, that's a gift, That's a gift, my friend. Folks, you have anybody open there? We could just cut it because we have one more. Okay, let's stop it there now. Alicia, thank you very much, my dear, for joining us. We'll keep in touch with you.
Children will talk.
All right.
Thank you for having me. I am right here. You all have my digits. Anything at all you need, anything you want to ask me. Sheldon, keep up the good work. Let this be it this time, please. But we here with you.
Yes. Ms. Bowen, thank you very much again for spending your valuable time with us. Can't blame Ms. Bowen for this. We really need to thank her a lot. And Sheldon, we want to thank you too, and the Hardcore group of companies for allowing you to be here this time, and for supporting you and make sure that you stay on the straight and narrow.
Thank God for having Ms. Bowen at my side here this morning.
Yes, and I have to thank God too as well for little mercies that bestowed upon us here to keep this program going. It's not easy. I can tell you all that it's not easy. But God is good, and the Ministry of National Security Counter Trafficking Unit, they're trying their best. Apart from that, we need help still from others to help the government help us to keep this program on the air, and we're going to continue to try as much as we could. Folks, it's been 21 years we've been doing this. 21 years, and Gary, thank you to Terry, Shortman, everybody. So it take one more by time waiting. Yeah. So
God bless you all.
yes, thank you. Thank you, Alicia. Thanks a lot. So folks, that's it for us. We can't take any more calls. It's 12 o'clock. Major news going to be up next. So we thank you once again for your wonderful support. Remember, those of you on YouTube, remember please to like and subscribe to the channel. On Facebook as well, please do the same thing. Sheldon will come back and check the comments on Facebook when you get a chance. Go back on Facebook and look at the comments. Lots of wonderful comments for you.
I'm trying to
All right?
but I will get through.
Yes, you'll get through. All right, folks. So thanks a lot. Have a great week, Natasha. And I would like to say to the family of Wayne Richards, Lord, I'm going to forget again, and I will never forgive myself. Wayne Richards, deceased, passed away last week. You remember him? He was the head of the traffic branch, one of the most genuine and honest and caring person I've ever met. He's been a guest on our Dependency a couple of times, and I can't remember what rank he retired at, but you all know him. He was in charge of the traffic grants, and we when I met him, he was Inspector Richards. And very decent gentleman, wonderful heart, and always supported our Dependency. He would call me up there from time to time. Well, he went home last week. So we want to say to the family, may his soul rest in peace and stay strong. Very, very good man. And we want to, wish the family all the best. So, folks, once again, it was a wonderful program. We thank you for your support for Sheldon. And remember, anywhere you see him on the road, look out for him, please. Look out for him. All right? And you all have our numbers. Give us a call anytime you see him anywhere that he's not supposed to be. Right, Sheldon?
Yes. And we all have to come together to keep him there.
Let's go out with the dog.
He can't do it by himself.
You understand?
Let's go out with the dog. Take care, folks. Have a good week. Good afternoon.